All right, we are living in the energy capital of the world, so why can't we keep the power on? So for the last couple of years, we've been kind of bagging on ERCOT because there's been problems. Now everybody's focused on CenterPoint. Why can't we get things to work? So we have Joe Brettell, who's an energy expert here, and I want to be clear, you don't work for CenterPoint,
Nope.
you don't rep CenterPoint.
Nope.
But we want to talk about CenterPoint's resiliency plan because they're saying, hey, you might be without power while we're getting all this stuff up to where it should be. So kind of give us the lowdown on what they're doing, how long is it going to take, and why is this a problem in the first place?
Well, it's a problem in the first place because, like every other utility entity in the country, CenterPoint is dealing with a couple of factors. You have more storms of greater intensity that are hitting old infrastructure. And so in light of what happened with Hurricane Beryl, where so many Houstonians, including myself, lost power and spent a couple of very warm days, they've come back and said, okay, here's the plan that we are going to implement to try and combat some of the growth that we've had in Houston that's put a greater strain on the system, as well as prepare for some of these climate change driven storms that are requiring greater resiliency and capability from our infrastructure.
So I do have to ask, though, with a lot of the infrastructure, that would be like the city, that would be the state. So is it CenterPoint working alone to get all this done, or do we need the state and the city to step in and do a little bit of work themselves?
It's a great question. It's got to be a collaboration, and I think that's the important thing for viewers to understand. Like, you know, even this week as they announced phase 1 of the program, where, you know, they're hardening some of those wooden poles that are out and making sure that they're more resilient to some of the storms we're going to see. People are going to lose power for a few hours. There is going to be some frustration, but what I would liken it to, Lena, is when you remodel a room in your house. My wife and I just remodeled our kitchen not too long ago. You lose use of that facility temporarily in order to upgrade it. And I think, you know, look, so far, let's give CenterPoint credit for what's happened, right? There was mistakes made. They've fessed up to it, and there's ongoing investigations as to what could have been done better. But they came back and said, here's the plan, and they're now executing on that plan. So let's go step by step and say, hey, as they execute and as we're better keeping that power on, you know, hold them accountable.
Okay, and then let me ask you too, there was in March, they submitted a plan for a 2% rate hike. That was before the derecho, before the hurricane as well. They pulled that back and said, we're not going to ask for it. Do you expect they're going to resubmit that maybe at a higher rate, or you think that's just off the table for now? Because I'm thinking they still need the money to do what they were hoping to do.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's a complicated sort of relationship whereby, you know, these companies keep our lights on, provide what we need to do business every day, and then are able by law to recoup some of those costs. In terms of you know, the cost take back in the near future, probably I think you'll see them wait on that a little bit. Like I said, wanted to rebuild trust, wanted to show that they've made real progress. And, you know, the thing to understand is, like, there is a sense of urgency here because we are still in the middle of hurricane season that has been predicted to be pretty robust. So these things have to be done pretty quickly.
Okay, so you wouldn't be surprised if we do see that rate hike ask, but you're thinking it'll probably be off the table for a little while for the time being anyway.
Yeah, and look, I mean, that's well within how they're set up, and, you know, cost take back is part of how these companies are under law sort of built and working in partnership with the state and the city.
Well, I wish I could say the same for myself. All right, thank you so much. Sending it back to you guys.